Welcome into Mississippi State Live here on the Voice of College Football. Andrew Miller joined by Christian Ballard here on a Thursday night. It is our time for our weekly call-in show. Your opportunity to come be a part of the action here on the stream. Give us your thoughts on Mississippi State football. I know it's a football show, but if you want thoughts on MSU basketball after their season opening win, I'll talk about that too. We can turn this into whatever, but yeah, opportunity for everyone to come and be a part of the show. And if you want to do that, we have the link to join stream pinned to the top of our live chat. We also have it in the description to the video, your opportunity to come be a part of the action. If you could, leave us a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Turn that notification bell on so you do know when we do go live. Share the stream, like all the stuff, subscribe, fun things, all of that. Let's have a good show.
Yeah, I'm ready for it, man. We got another good weekend in college football. My Crimson Tide, of course, hosting LSU and got a big rivalry game there. But we look here tonight towards really most of the SEC with our picks later on. And then, keys to victory, like you said, against Georgia, which you know, say whatever you want to there. I know obviously we've struggled in SEC play, but you imagine a win here, it'd be a huge turning point for Jeff Levy in this program, possibly. And it gets us our sixth win on the year. We're bowl eligible. We just need one to go bowling. And who knows? I mean, stuff happens in the SEC. Upsets happen. Teams show up. Other teams don't show up. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity for sure. You get the chance to pull off a signature win for Jeff Levy here in year two. Look, beating Arizona State was a huge moment for the program, right? The Arkansas win ultimately was very important because you finally snap the streak of losing conference games, and give yourself a position to even have an opportunity to go to bowl here in the second season. So that was a big win, but getting a win of this magnitude, if you could take down Georgia, would be massive, absolutely massive for the program. Understanding that, again, Georgia is the number 5 team in the country. If you get that win in front of your home fans to get bowl eligible in year two, I think you start to see some real buzz around this program and the future that is possible. And you also start to look at the rest of the schedule and say, well, shoot, we beat Georgia. After that, you can go and beat Missouri. You feel confident of that. You're going to feel great going into the Egg Bowl. And I'm not saying that, we talked about with the Arizona State game how getting that win sort of recalibrated expectations for the year to where, okay, once you beat ASU, bowl eligibility became the goal. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that beating Georgia would suddenly then say, okay, well, you got to win one of the last two for it to be a success. No, 6-6 will unequivocally be a success for this team and for this season. If they can find a way to get that final win, and doing against Georgia would be fantastic. But you would definitely go into the last couple of weeks thinking you've got a really good shot. And look, Georgia is not a team that is unbeatable, right? This is a team that has been in some close games this season and has been in games, close games that they easily could have fallen on the other side of. Now, obviously, the Tennessee game, Tennessee's a pretty good team, right? The loss they took is to a very good team in Alabama. Ole Miss, the other game they were very competitive with, that's another good team. You understand that for the most part they've played teams where the result could have gone the other way, have been against really, really good opponents. But that being said, they were trailing against Auburn, right? And really, if Auburn gets a few calls to go their way, they probably lose that game to an Auburn team that's not very good. And kind of crazy, if they win that game, Hugh Freeze is probably still Auburn's coach right now. In fact, I'd say he's definitely still Auburn's coach right now. The Florida game, that was another one where it was competitive, where you've got a Florida team that Mississippi State went toe-to-toe with, and Florida could have won that football game. Now, I think Georgia kind of statistically dominated it, and it was just more the scoreboard kept things. There were some miscues that let that game be closer than maybe it should have, but nonetheless, sometimes the game's going to play out that way, and Florida had opportunities to potentially get a win over their rivals. So, look, we've seen Mississippi State this year. They went toe-to-toe with Tennessee. They went toe-to-toe with Texas. in those big home games with really good home atmospheres, Georgia is clearly a rung above those teams, but I don't think it's out of the question for State to have an opportunity to be able to compete.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I saw this was put out earlier. I saw it on my lunch break. David Pollock, and I'm pulling this up too, but James Morgan of UGA Wire put this out. David Pollock called this game a trap game, even though he picked Georgia to win. He is not at all sleeping on what Mississippi State could do this weekend. Because I mean, let's be honest, man. We talked about it last week, or maybe we talked about it Monday or whenever. But it was like you're a couple plays away from having a better record on the season. You're 5-4. That's not bad. But the 1-4 in SEC play, a couple of those games go your way. Are you undefeated, or let alone only have one SEC loss? As it's tough in this conference, but for Mississippi State, man, they're a really good competitive team. We've talked about it all year long, but we also have to be critical and kind of call out, when we see the miscues and errors. Then, if State plays their best football this week, I see no reason that Georgia goes in here and like blows us out. I don't know if we like actually find a way to win. It would be awesome, but there's got to be a chance for Mississippi State where you say they can keep it competitive.
Sure, State at its best is going to have an opportunity in this game. No doubt. If MSU comes out and plays really well, start to finish in this game, they will have an opportunity of being able to find a way to pull off the upset, which I guess you could spin it the other way and say if Georgia played their absolute best, then they're still going to probably win the game comfortably. So you could maybe go one way or another, but Georgia's a team that, again, they've had moments where they have shown some vulnerability. Now they're still winning those games, but if Mississippi State handles business and comes out fully locked in, they're going to have a chance. And yeah, look, this would be a really, really big moment and win for the program if you could get it. But it's going to be a challenge for sure. You recognize what Georgia brings to the table, so they're going to be a team to have to battle with. Got a first caller of the night, Jacob Wright, joining in. Let's add him here. Jacob, how's it going?
What's up?
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
Not much. Just listening to y'all's show.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, man? How you feel about Georgia this week?
Oh, I don't know. I think this is going to sound bad as a State fan. I think that this game is probably getting a little bit more hype than it deserves. I mean, I would love nothing more for us to win, and I think it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I mean, it is Georgia, but I know like SEC nations coming in, and I know a lot of even like national college football writers are talking about it. The line's only they're only a touchdown favorite. I know it's at home and everything. I do not think that we're going to come out and win this one. I think Georgia is an extremely well coached team, and that's the reason why. I don't think it's because that. I don't think it's because I think Georgia has just so much more talent than us, or they're such a better team. I mean, if you look at them, all their games have come down close to the wire. But you look at Kirby Smart's press conference that he had earlier this week, and I mean, he was getting really detailed with the what he has found about our team and the film study, and they have closed just about every game that they've had this year. You look at the Ole Miss game, and it looked like Ole Miss was going to beat them, and then right in the fourth quarter, they find a way to win. Same thing with Florida. I think we got a chance to win. I mean, I'm not going to rule it out. I think we definitely have a puncher's chance to pull off the upset. I wouldn't be just shocked or floored if we pulled off the upset, but I do think that it is going to be extremely hard to do it. I think we'll play them close, and it'll still be a game going into the fourth quarter. But then I do think we kind of see them pull away, kind of like Texas last year. It's a relatively close game. Then just kind of in the fourth quarter, they beat us by a couple touchdowns. I wouldn't rule out us winning or it coming down to some last second field goal. I would love for that to happen. As I've said, won't rule it out, but I do think that Georgia is simply the better team. We're only in year two; they're in like year six. They're national champions the past couple years. They're an elite program.
Yeah.
I'd say all that's fair. No, look, I do think there is a point that there's probably been a little bit more hype around this than maybe it fully justifies. I think Georgia matches up in such a way that, at least when you talk about the Georgia offense against the state defense, that I think they're going to be able to have a pretty good day.
Mhm.
Now, state offensively might be able to present Georgia with some problems, but you kind of have to see that over the course of 4 quarters, whether or not they can make that happen. Some of it, and Christian talked about earlier, Georgia people talking about this as a trap game. And I forgot to
Yeah,
comment this earlier. Like, it falls. Look, it's the week after the cocktail party, and it's a week before they host Georgia.
yeah, absolutely. I do
So
think it is a trap game, but I think it just comes back to coaching. Just seeing how Kirby Smart presents himself and his team, I think that he is going to have his guys locked in on it, and he's not going to let himself get caught in that situation. I just have a ton of respect for him as a coach and them as a team. So I think it's going to be very
Yeah.
tough for us to win. And then also, we have Albert Reese out. The last few times we've had Albert Reese out, we have struggled running the football, which is, I think, our biggest. Yeah, I see. He just commented. I didn't even see that until he said it. But yeah, with Reese out
thank you, Trey.
on tonight's availability report, that is definitely a big sting. We have struggled to run the football without him. We do not have very much depth at the O line position. I think Timothy Lewis will be a great left tackle in a couple years. He's not there yet. We will get beat off the edge. I think that our best chance at winning this game is to essentially run a two quarterback system because I don't think we're going to have the um I don't think we're going to be able to beat them with one offense. I think our best shot is every other drive have a different quarterback in, or let Shapen go out there. I mean, we've started pretty good all year with Shapen. I mean, he usually comes out firing, and with the scripted plays, it's really good. So I'd love to see us throw him out there, let him hopefully score a touchdown or two. Then once we inevitably, it's not inevitably, but most likely punt a couple times, have Kamario Taylor come out and see what he can do. You know, uh, to when the offense gets a little bit stagnant, I'd love to see a switch, kind of like in the Arkansas game, where you throw him out for a couple drives, let him go score a couple times. Then you can hopefully bring Shapen back in and have him come out and do some, look more like he was at first, like in the Arkansas game, because I think that's our best bet to win is really see Kamario Taylor's role expand. I don't know if Levy will pull the trigger and really do that. I don't know why he won't, but I think that's our best chance to win is run two offensive systems because it's extremely hard to prepare adequately for two of them.
I think that's a possibility. And look, I kind of advocated after the Arkansas game that we definitely need to basically move to a QB system, to a two QB system, and give Taylor more opportunities. I will say, the point about the run game and Taylor having him in helps that a lot because of just what that does for your numbers.
Yeah, they have to respect it a lot more from the quarterback, which draws people off and opens it up entirely.
Right. And I'll be honest, had Reese played, I still was not expecting much from State in the run game in this one. Georgia's just been very good against the run all season. I'll talk about that once we get into the keys to victory. I think the passing game is going to be a big part of this, though, which is where I think maybe you do need to find some more ways to get Taylor involved. I think you're going to need Shapen to have a pretty big day. And I think State's best chances are ultimately going to come through the air. So not saying don't even try to run or don't find ways to get creative on the ground, but I think trying to run against Georgia is probably not going to be able to help them out all that much. I think a lot of it's going to have to come through the air. I have another injury update here from Trey. Jerron Manning cleared to go on Saturday, but Isaac Smith just showed up on the report. Do you have for Smith? Where did he land? Is it questionable? What is it?
He's a tough guy. He'll be fine.
I hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this Look, like I was telling Andrew, this will be a fun game. I don't know, man. I mean, obviously Georgia's
Okay,
always
he's
had great
probably.
defense. Oh, okay, okay. I was going to say real quick, Georgia's always had good defense. I don't want to say it's young and inexperienced. I think they got a lot of great guys back. Um, there's definitely a lot that they do to get after the quarterback. So you got to play as fast as you possibly can on offense in a way. Um, but I don't know, man. I like our chances to keep it close and be competitive. I don't know if I 100% like our chances to win, but I feel like if there is any way we win, Shapen has got to have one of his better days. And I think, as you mentioned, or was it Andrew? Either way, could there be some opportunities for Kamario Taylor out there? Do you kind of mix it up a little bit and try to, I don't know, maybe go fast tempo, throw off the defense of Georgia a little bit with a couple different packages?
Yeah, I think that is that if I was doing keys to victory, that would be one of my keys to victory. Seeing
Right.
Kamario Taylor in the game and switching it up. I mean, you got nothing to lose. If we get blown out to Georgia 50-0, everybody will move on after 24 hours after the win we got last week. Like well, I'm sure somebody's going to be calling for Levy's head. Nobody of any significance is going to be calling for Levy's head. If we get blown out 50-7 against Georgia. So why not just go crazy, mix it up, try different stuff? You got nothing to lose. If you play how you've been playing all season, you're probably going to lose. I don't think we've put up quite a performance this season in any game. We have for quarters. I don't think we have, maybe even halves. I don't think we put up a full game performance that if you threw it up there against Georgia, we would win. Maybe Arizona State, but I'm not even sure how good they actually are. I mean, I know they're at least a good team, but I don't know if they're a great or an elite team or not. But
They were last year, that's for sure.
yeah, they were last year. I know their quarterback's injured right now, and so they've definitely lost some. But he was healthy whenever he played us. Anyways,
Mhm.
I mean, you got nothing to lose. I don't see why you don't go crazy and try to just completely throw them off balance. I think that's how you turn the odds into your favor. Get the crowd into it. Whenever Taylor's there, I think it's going to be a good crowd. So I think that's how you do it and how you beat them if you're going to pull off the upset.
It's all totally fair. No, I mean, I agree with the mentality of throwing caution to the wind. That was something that, you know, with Dan Mullen, that was kind of always a little bit of would irk you a little bit in these big games, is that Mullen very clearly took an approach frequently against the very top teams of, we're just kind of trying to get through this game. We're not going to be particularly aggressive one way or another. He did on some occasions. There were times they would take their shots. There were times that they would try to get things going early, but it kind of felt like there were a lot of games where he just sort of said, "Yeah, we're just going to do our basic stuff, and that's how we're going to handle it in these games." And look, I understand the mindset of, I understand the mindset of not wanting to do stuff you haven't done and do stuff you're not comfortable with. But I'm all for being super aggressive in these games. And, who really cares if your aggression comes back to bite you in a game where you're probably not winning either way? I think taking more shots and trying to be as aggressive as possible, that makes a whole lot of sense. So if you can find a way to
Yeah.
throw something at Georgia that they're not ready for, I certainly agree that that's a worthwhile approach.
Exactly, and I think that'll kind of go against Georgia's game plan because I think they're coming out here and they're going to say we're going to run the ball, we're going to shorten the game, we're just going to go out and try to do our basic stuff, do a lot of screen plays, a lot of runs, try not to show a bunch of the playbook and pull out all the stops. We're just going to go out here, do our job, and get this win. I think if they've probably done an extremely good scouting report, and it seems to me that they have. So I think if you want to win, that's how you got to do it. Just throw the playbook out the window and start from scratch. Turn a new page. Go to the back half of it. I don't know.
Totally
Fair
fair.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do y'all think about this? Because one reason I kind of started this off with is SEC Nation's coming in, the game's getting a lot of hype. Do y'all think any of that could be because there aren't any other just huge, or at least I don't think there are huge SEC games this week? I know you mentioned at the beginning Christian Alabama playing LSU. I don't think that's that big of a
Yeah,
game this year.
so that
Usually it
might be
is.
it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
I think
mean,
you got the
it
Missouri
would
game. They're
be.
playing somebody.
Yeah, it would be a big game if they had kept Brian Kelly and he didn't lose all these games that he did, and
Yeah.
managed to control himself after or at least control the team on field like after the Clemson game. But yeah, there's really not a whole lot for the SEC this week. I mean, maybe Texas A&M Missouri could be fun, but other than that, like
Hmm.
okay, Vandy
Yeah.
hosts Auburn, and we'll do like some predictions on some of these later on, I'm sure. But I mean, even Auburn and Vandy, I mean, I would expect Vandy to just
Yeah. I think they're just gonna blow them out the
yeah,
water. I mean,
probably
Auburn has such a bad culture because of Hugh. I don't
hmm
know why they. I mean, I understand why they hired him, but I don't see how you could have interviewed that guy and thought he was a good hire. Maybe he's just a really good job interviewer. I don't know.
Do
I
they
mean, he
ever
seemed
announce his? Did they ever announce his replacement or interim? Who's the interim right now? Do
it's I
we
think
know?
it's the defensive coordinator. I
Oh,
Talking
think.
about
Durkin.
Yeah,
Auburn,
that
yeah, it's
sounds right.
Durkin, and their
Yeah,
Is
fans
it
want him to
DJ
be the head
Durkin?
coach.
that's interesting. That might
Of
be a
course
good
they
idea in
do.
this year's coaching carousel, though.
They Auburn. This is twice now. Auburn fans have done this within the past. Well, I guess since Gus was fired, that they get a defensive coordinator who's very successful, and the other side of the ball with the offensive head coach, his side of the ball is not working. So they get rid of the offensive guy and say, well, look, the defense, let's keep that going. Let's just keep the defensive coordinator in place. And clearly, if we let him go hire a good OC, that'll fix everything. And it doesn't work that way. Also, DJ Durkin just shouldn't be a coach, especially a
Well,
head
I
coach.
will say, not to correct you too much, but remember Brian Harsin got fired. They had the running back coach Cadillac Williams as the interim guy. Not, I mean, either way, but they wanted him. I mean, they thought it was working out
They weren't
in
pushing hard
ways,
for
but
Cadillac, though. That was like there were some
no, not
people
like they are Durkin.
like, and with Kevin Steele, there were quite literally boosters who were pushing to fire Gus because they wanted to go ahead and make Kevin Steele the guy. With
True.
Cadillac, it was more just like
Yeah.
classic hype man type move. And yeah, he had some people in his corner for sure. Would have been
hmm
better for you than Hugh Freeze, but no, there's this big push for Durkin because they've convinced themselves Summerall somehow not a good candidate for them.
hmm
They aren't interested in some of these other G5 coaches. They want to believe they should be able to go and land a sitting power conference coach, and I just don't think that's going to necessarily happen. A lot of them
Yeah.
want Dillingham. He's not leaving Arizona State, especially for Auburn.
Ooh, I don't know about that. I think Dillingham might leave. Maybe not for
I don't
Auburn.
know if he
I
go.
could
No,
I
he
could
wouldn't go
absolutely
for
see him
Auburn,
leaving though.
but I
Well, look,
agree
he's
with
been at
Jacob
Auburn
though.
before. I get it, but I don't think everything I've heard is it would take a really, really premier job to get him to leave. And I think Auburn's a good job. I don't think it's worth leaving for if you're at Arizona State when they're in a pretty good spot right now with some of the investments going into that program and just situationally in the Big 12. He can win a whole lot of games there and continue to get his stock higher and higher and probably take over a better situation. So,
I
I mean,
could
I
see
don't know.
I could see Dillingham leaving for Ole Miss if Lane leaves.
I see. I put that the same way with Auburn. I wouldn't. Now, if Ole Miss opens, like they're going to go after Summerall. Like that's the thing. If Auburn's not able to get Summerall, John Summerall will be the next head coach of Ole Miss if Lane leaves.
I think
Just
John Summerall's going to LSU.
LSU, I don't think is going to hire a coach from Tulane.
I don't know. I think that with what their governor has said and everything, and John Summerall's like an hour up the road, I think he's a perfect fit for LSU. I don't think that they could have anybody better except for Lane. I think Summerall would be borderline like slam dunk hire for them.
I don't disagree. He'd fit. He'd win. I just LSU is a place where there is a mindset of we're too good to hire a coach from Tulane, just like they were too good to hire the coach from ULL, which is why it worked out. Kind of. I mean, Brian Kelly still didn't work out in the end, but at least they made it to the SEC championship game. But like, they didn't even consider Billy Napier at a time where Billy Napier's like star couldn't have been brighter because they did not want to touch a coach from a G5 in that state.
I don't know. I think with all the turmoil and turnover that's happening there and stuff, I don't know. I could very easily see them going after Summerall. I have to respectfully disagree with you on that one.
That's fair. I just
That's the big one. That's the big name is Summerall. I'm reading here. I'm just kind of looking around and seeing. I also found one though, which I don't. I mean, I'm an Alabama guy, by the way. I don't remember this guy's name. It was back when I was like following the team, but the most I knew was like, this is our OC, this is our DC. But we had a associate defensive coordinator, but he was mostly the safeties coach. This is who is this? Charles Kelly, uh, former safeties and secondary type of guy.
he's the head coach of
He's
Jackson
a
State right
candidate.
now.
Okay. Well, I
We
guess they're
see
doing
how
all right.
those head coaches typically work out at other places.
Yeah, but it's a whole nother thing. You know, here's what I don't like when it comes to like um, coaching searches is you have to really look into it in terms of how their coaching style and scheme is because you can look at a guy and say he's got a winning record, but let's say it's in the Sun Belt. How is that going to work? I mean, for example, with Auburn, Brian Harsin, winning record at Boise State over in the the Mountain West. He comes over from Boise State. He can't handle the SEC. He didn't make it 2 full years. So you always got to put into account like, yeah, they got a winning record over here, but does the style of coaching does it line up with the league in the SEC? And the same would go for Big Ten schools, ACC, and all that.
Yeah, it does apply. Like I think fit gets thrown around far too much when people talk about coaches. I think it's pretty overblown, and I think it's a cop out whenever a coach gets fired, and people are like, "Well, what went wrong?" It's like, "Oh, he wasn't a fit." Like that was the thing. There were people the other day, like Casey Smith from Barstool, talking about Hugh Freeze not being a fit at Auburn, and it's like Hugh Freeze shouldn't have been hired. Hugh Freeze was a perfect fit at Auburn. Like he fits Auburn to a T. A guy whose reputation is to go and get players by any means necessary while putting on this persona of being a Southern Baptist preacher. That is Auburn through and through.
Yeah.
And like also it was pretty big revisionist history from Casey on that because everyone when Freeze got fired, including our co-host and Brandon, was like he fits Auburn perfectly. But of course, a few years later he gets fired, and all of a sudden, he wasn't a fit. Like I'll be like Joe Moorhead at Mississippi State. A lot of people are like, oh, he was a Northeast guy, just didn't fit. I don't think his personality is why he failed at Mississippi State. Like I just don't think he was that great of a head coach ultimately.
Yeah.
Frankly, Moorhead's personality, a lot of his stuff, like kind of plays with State fans. It's just he wasn't winning games. And now that does get into the side of fit, though, that does matter, which is understanding the job you're at and what it takes to be successful at the job you're at. And that is where I do think like a guy like Moorhead clearly didn't really understand what it was going to take at Mississippi State and to be successful there. Christian talked about Brian Harsin. I don't think Brian Harsin's a bad football coach. I think Brian Harsin is a coach, though, what he wants to do and how he wants to run a program does not work if you were taking over a place like Auburn that has the expectations Auburn does, and you have to coach in the way that you have to do there. That's where fit certainly comes in. And John Summerall, any of these SEC jobs, is going to be a perfect fit there because he understands working in that type of an environment and what's necessary to do there. But I'm not saying LSU would just completely not consider it. It may be different this time around, but I don't know. I think that's might be tough on them this time because of or I think just in general, it's LSU. There's a lot of weird politics at play, quite literally this time because of the governor thing. But just in general, even in a normal year, the way certain boosters view certain coaches and who we can go after gets in the way of programs hiring very good coaches all the time. And Summerall might fall victim to that in the case of LSU. But he might get a better situation out of it in another case.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean, but I don't know. I just think he'd be too perfect of a fit for them and their new, non-permanent, non-interim AD. I don't know if y'all saw that.
Yeah, that's a whole weird thing.
That came out. We're going to take the interim tag off of him, but he's not permanent. So, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
By the way, y'all were talking about SEC Nation earlier. I looked up where they've been this season. Part of it's just because they've been to some of these other stops already, which they've gone to a couple places multiple times. They've been to OU twice. They've been to Missouri twice, so they were not going to go back to Missouri for a third time, even with the Tigers hosting Texas A&M. They've been to Bama once, and I think just the shine off the LSU Bama game is probably why they were like, okay, we have an opportunity. We can go to another place. We'll go to Mississippi State. But to Jacob, you made the original point of is just a product of not having a lot of good games in the SEC. Ultimately, yes.
Yeah, but hey, I'll take it, man. If it's more hype and more fans come, and shoot, I wish I could come, but I had too much stuff going on. I'm probably going to try to get season tickets next year. Because if you want to sit in a good seat where you can have as good of a view as you can on TV, it's $300 for you and one other person. Especially if you include gas to drive there, because I live outside of Jackson. But so yeah, I'm probably gonna look into getting season tickets next year. I'm definitely excited to see where we're going. But yeah, I mean, I'll take the more fans, more hype around it. All that is good, even if I think it's unwarranted. I am absolutely gonna welcome it, because I hope that they come in here and we beat their brains out and send them packing back to Athens 30-5. I mean, shoot, I don't care.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I would. I'd be jumping up and down saying, Zach Selman, if you don't extend Levy, I'm going to march into your office and I don't even know, but scream at you. I don't know. Yeah. I can't say some of the things I was thinking of originally. But I'd love to see us go out and get a win here. It'd be super exciting to me. Other than our game, I think the SEC is pretty boring this week. The coaching searches have kind of died down. Do y'all see any of the other SEC teams potentially getting canned? Because they've had one a week, 4 weeks in a row now. Do y'all think there's any other ones that might be coming?
Well, where I would direct your attention to is to hold on. Where I would direct your attention is to SEC Primetime Live, which was recorded last night, where we talked about exactly that. But no, I mean, I'll still share. But there was a good discussion with me and Tucker Harlan over there if you want to go check that out. But I think we're both kind of in agreement. We don't think Stoops is going to move on from Kentucky. I don't think Beamer's going to get Virginia Tech, and I don't think South Carolina is going to fire him just yet. So I don't see a firing. So the other options would be if guys get poached, but I see a lot of these guys. I mean, we both, frankly, we took Drinkwitz going to Florida. We both said that. Mm-hmm. I forgot about Jed Fish, and I saw a prediction with that today. And frankly, I could see that happening a lot more just because for whatever reason, Florida fans are convinced that Eli Drinkwitz is the devil, and they want nothing to do with him.
Yeah, they think it's all his offensive coordinator. I think he'd be a great hire, though. I think somebody's gonna pick him up. I don't know.
I could see him being more movable than Lane for sure. And I don't even know if they think some of it's the OC, but I think a lot. It's mostly they have hated this guy since he got to Missouri and have found him annoying. He's trolled them directly before. They don't like his personality. They don't like his antics. And because they have hated this guy so heavily for years, having to do a 180 and support him as their guy is just something that they can't get behind.
Mm-hmm.
But to be fair, I've been in that spot as a fan before. I understand it. That's a weird place to be in. But from a football program perspective, I think he'd fit perfectly and win a lot of games.
It was, I mean, because you think about it, man, like Clark Lee's not going anywhere. As far as getting canned, um, Clark Lee's good. Kalen DeBoer's just getting started. Obviously, Kirby. Obviously, Sark's probably not going to get fired. I mean, you're the only team I can think of that hasn't been fired yet. And that's a yet. I mean, I think Mark Stoops has been there long enough at Kentucky. He 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 would have to do a lot more damage to get out of there. But the go-to next would be Beamer in South Carolina. I think that's the next go-to, depending on how he ends this season, and we'll see how 2026 starts out. But I don't know, man. They got a bye week this week, and then they go to Texas A&M. They got Coastal, and then they got the game with Clemson at home um, on rivalry weekend. So we'll see how he finishes out. But four straight losses, and being 1-6 in conference play is not looking very good for Beamer.
I
Yeah.
think he is okay because he just had a really good season last year. And especially if they're not going to a bowl because they're not going to beat Texas A&M, but they're going to beat Coastal. They could still beat Clemson. Clemson is not good. If they end the year, I still think. I mean, I don't think he gets fired regardless. But especially if they hit 5-7, I think it'll be okay. You get one more year. I think he's going to get the opportunity. You have to hire go out and get a big name OC because that is sort of the big thing with him right now. Is he continues to hire complete morons as his OCs and guys who want to run a style of offense that just is not going to be effective with the type of talent that they have. I think he's going to get pressure of like, we'll give you another year, but you have to agree to go and hire a coach who's going to do X, Y, and Z on offense. And if they do, and then go with that for one more year. Stoops, I think if they had the ability to fire him, they would. Like, I don't think it's a case of the goodwill has been built up so much that they're still happy with him there. It is entirely, they do not want to pay that buyout right now when they are spending what they're spending on basketball. And at this point, if you're Kentucky and you look at the job market, where does your job rank when you open? And this is a point that I made on SEC Primetime last night. A couple of years ago, there was this big hipster movement across college football media to talk about how Kentucky's the best job in college football. And the argument was that, well, you're shaking your head, Christian. There was a good argument for it. It was nothing about competing for championships. It had nothing to do with your ability to win at the highest level. It was everything around the idea of you're going to go to this job that's an SEC job. You're going to make $5-6 million a year, if not more, because that was right before coaching salaries really took off to like the double digits or the double figures, whatever. And you are going to like be able to have super relaxed expectations. Like no one's expecting you to win at the highest level. They're just saying it could take us to bowl games. You can go get talent out of the Midwest and sell those kids on coming and playing in the SEC. So you get some good recruits. And Stoops for a good stretch was recruiting well there. Yeah. And you can take this program, and if you're winning 6, 7, 8 games a year, you can coach forever. And like the job security, Mark Stoops had it in his contract every year that he won 7 games, including a bowl. It could be 6-6 with the 7th win in the bowl. Automatic 1-year extension. If he won 10 games, automatic 3-year extension. So he had all these stipulations in his contract, and it was like that is the cushiest gig in the sport. So that's what all of the hipsters in college football media wanted to push as like that's the good place to be. That ain't going to happen going forward for multiple reasons. One, you no longer have the SEC East, so you're not able to beat up on a weaker half of the conference consistently. Their schedule has gotten tougher since this all ended. 2, because of Mark Stoops' success, the next coach is going to be under more pressure to win. They are no longer happy with just being a 6-6, 7-5 type team. Before this current stretch where they really fell apart, their fans were getting mad at Stoops for only winning 7 games. So the expectations have gotten higher. The next coach is not going to get the same type of job security that Stoops did. He's not going to get a contract that has the same automatic extensions that Stoops did because if not for that, Mark Stoops would be fired right now. It's why they can't fire him currently. And also, look at the money Kentucky just put into basketball. If they're spending $22 million on their roster for basketball, that tells you what their resources are going to be for football going forward. They are clearly going back all in on it. It's always been a basketball school, but there was a moment there late in Calipari's tenure where Stoops really had things rolling, and there was a lot more support behind the football program than the basketball program. That ain't going to be the case going forward. So you're not going to have money to go and get recruits. Sorry, let me. I'm almost done here.
Go ahead.
And the other thing, the recruiting base, they like to go pull the players out of the Midwest and sell them on, hey, come play in the SEC. None of that really matters now when you got Indiana, who's right in the backyard, dominating. Louisville is kicking their butt right now on the recruiting trail, and they went and took one of their best staff members and got him to Louisville to go and recruit the state. They've got a lot of competition programs that they had been recruiting better than that they can't anymore. That job is it is still good because it's an SEC job. It is back to being a bottom tier job in the league. Like, you were taking it for a paycheck. You're probably going to get fired after 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
Where did you get the 22 million figure from?
That's been what's just been going around. And it is being said on like national outlets for what it's worth.
Okay. Because I know that a lot of those have been, somebody will create a graphic that says some team spent X number of dollars on this, and it's just something random that some, janitor said in the lobby. It's not legit. But isn't there basically, you might know more about this than I do, because I've seen a few different things and it makes no sense to me, because I've seen so many things contradict each other. This is what I think the new rules are. You can't do NIL deals that aren't for legitimate business purposes. Like, if Coca-Cola wants to sponsor you to be in a commercial, they can pay you whatever they want as long as it's market value for you to appear in their commercial. And that's the NIL side of things, but that's where it ends. You can sell your name on t-shirts for fair market value. If it's anything above $600, it goes through the clearinghouse thing, and they verify that it's at market level. And then essentially we've instituted what I believe is a salary cap of $25.5 million that each school is required to pay their players, regardless of if they want to or not. They have to spend $25.5 million, I think that's the number, per year.
Unless that just changed, that is not a requirement.
Oh, it's not? Okay, so but they can pay up to that.
It's 20.5, I think.
It might be 20.5. That I might be, 20.5 million.
I think it's something like 20.5, 21.5.
And that goes across. Yeah, but that goes across all sports. So you can spend 20 million on baseball and $500,000 on volleyball if you want to, or you can put it all on football, whatever you want to do. But it has to go to the athletes, and you spread it out among that set of people. Is that correct? Because if that's so, and they're spending 22 million on basketball, then I mean that's like almost unheard of.
So a few things. I know there was just an update to like the ruling on that like a couple days ago. I don't remember how they ruled directly. I think they upheld that there is the $600 limit, and after that it has to go to a clearinghouse. We'll see how long that lasts before it gets challenged once again. This money that got spent on the roster was before all of this got passed. So I don't know if you remember, for state, there was a big discussion with Ace Reese for baseball about making sure they got him taken care of. That was all before the clearinghouse stuff.
Okay.
Because the idea was anything that happens before all that got passed, you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was a big point being made of like, state needs to go ahead and get Reese taken care of, because that was something that came up when there was the talk that he was still going to enter the portal after already saying he wasn't going to. What everybody pointed out is if he's in the portal now, he's getting bad information, or he's just thinking he needs to go. He wants to win somewhere else because he's not going to get more money than he's getting at Mississippi State, because other schools quite literally cannot pay him what state paid him, because state was able to do most of it through NIL and just not all of it through NIL, and just like, here, man, here's a check. Like, so Kentucky's 22 mil for their basketball, and like John Fanta was saying that on Pardon My Take yesterday. So like it's a thing. That was all like taken care of ahead of time. We'll see going forward how much NIL is still going to be able to offset what you're spending against that cap, that $20.5 million. What I will say though is let's say I seriously doubt they're going to fully take away NIL, and I think they'll continue to find ways to pay guys under the table. That's just going to happen, and give them NIL funding that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to get. But if Kentucky's willing to spend that much money on a basketball roster, even in this year where we're able to go all in, I think that means a big part of their revenue share. They're going to have a much bigger portion of that $20.5 million going towards a basketball roster than almost anybody else in the country.
Sure, yeah, totally.
So that's going to impact them going forward.
Yeah, but I mean, I still see coaches get on press conferences talking about NIL money and how they want the rules changed and stuff, and what they're describing about what they want the rules to be changed is exactly what I believe they did with the 20.5 million. And so I'm just, it seems like a lot of people that should absolutely be informed are not informed. Like,
Well,
I don't know, man.
Coaches are very much guilty of just, I was told this and it sounds like something that I want to be mad about, so going with it.
Exactly.
But this year, some of those astronomical numbers are legit because this was the last year teams felt they could do it. Texas Tech, it happened in football. Texas Tech probably spent close to 40 or if not 50 million on their football roster this year.
Yeah.
Because they knew we can go all in. Like, we have the money. This might be the only year we can do it. Let's go do it. And they're taking advantage.
Yep. I don't think, one thing that I think though is I don't think you can build long-term success by buying recruits and stuff. I mean, I think it helps. I would even argue that it's necessary in today's college age, but I don't think that is how you sustain true long-term success through the transfer portal and writing checks. That's just my opinion, though, and I think that's kind of shown through the Jimbo Fisher debacle and Coach Prime out at Colorado. I think you have to retain at least like a core nucleus of players like Ole Miss does, and then just bring in a lot of people through the transfer portal at a minimum.
Definitely agree.
So, anyways, it was nice talking to y'all. I'll try to be back next week. I enjoyed doing it. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jacob.
All right, y'all have a nice night.
Good conversation there.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff to get into.
Oh,
all right. Well, it was a great conversation, but we still got to hit keys to victory, and we still got to make our picks. So let's get into keys to victory now for Mississippi State against Georgia. And the first thing that I'll hit on, and it's kind of been talked about a little bit here, is the idea of Georgia being in a lot of these tight games. And so much of that has been that Georgia early in games does not start off that well. They typically don't do much offensively to open up games. They've had a couple games where they've started off hot, but their first half production does not really blow you away. And they tend to get down against some of these opponents. But it's the second half where they really lock in or are able to pull away and turn it on. They've very much been a team like they go and kind of figure you out in the first half, and in the second half they sort of take over. If you're Mississippi State, this has got to be a complete effort game of you playing at the highest level possible. You have to start fast and take advantage of those opportunities early in the game, but you're also going to have to keep your foot on the pedal. Like, once Georgia starts to settle in and has felt it out and understands where they need to go from there, if you're State, you can't suddenly just let your foot off the gas once that happens. Like, State is going to have to give 4 quarters of playing really good football to have a chance against Georgia. And I know that kind of feels obvious in a game like this, but they haven't necessarily had to have a 4-quarter game in other games. And you can look at some of these teams that have played Georgia, and maybe you could say, well, they didn't need a 4-quarter game, and they were right there. Not playing a complete game, though, is why they ultimately lost. So if you're State, it's got to be from start to finish. They have to come out firing, and they've got to be able to maintain that throughout.
Yeah, I look at Georgia, and obviously it's top-tier competition now, and, it's Gunnar Stockton, probably not having the season that he hoped for, although I think he's still doing really good. He's got his lead receiver, Zachariah Branch, 474 yards. Gunnar Stockton himself, over 1,700 yards. He's 70% on his completions. That's pretty good numbers right there. 12 touchdowns. You would think there'd be a little bit more. I haven't really watched Georgia as a whole this year. Obviously, they got really good defense. It seems like it's either going to be complete or close to it because they had some drop off and some guys leave for the NFL. I feel like it's really complete this year. It's really dominant. CJ Allen, the linebacker, leads in tackles at 69 total. Ellis Robinson, the fourth, has 2 interceptions, leads the team. You have a couple guys with forced fumbles and fumble recoveries. So, I mean, they're just all over the place with defense, man. CJ Allen, I mentioned, has 3. Chris Cole also has 3. Their linebackers have always been elite, and they're also prone to get after the quarterback and stop the run in the backfield. So, with that being said, O-line's got to step up in this game and limit how many times they can get to Blake Shapen. That would be my first key to victory.
Yeah, no, State's going to have to perform well. And look, to be fair, this Georgia team really has not gotten a lot of pass rush this year. They're last in the SEC in sacks on the season. So you're hoping if you're State that you can handle some of that. Now, no Albert Reese. That does make it a little bit more difficult. It would be pretty typical if Georgia figured out their pass rush woes in this game. But Georgia's also been a team that's had to blitz in order to get after the quarterback, and you're hoping you can take advantage of that. If a team has to blitz to get pressure, you feel like you have ways you can go and take advantage. Another key for me, and this plays into the idea of having a big game. It plays into the idea of, the offensive line needing to play well because, they would be protecting him. Blake Shapen, I think, has to have the best game of the season. Mm-hmm. And I would say over the last 2 games, Shapen has mostly played good. He got off to a poor start against Arkansas, but the rest of the game that he was in, he overall performed really well. Texas, the slow start in that game wasn't really on him. And then he played outstanding football throughout. I know the end of the game, he had a rough miss there, but I still think he really did all you could ask of him in that game. He's got to keep that momentum up, but he's got to be even better because this is a Georgia team that we talked about it earlier. Their run defense is outstanding. They're only giving up about 90 rushing yards a game. No one has really been able to effectively run the football on them. Albert Reese out in State's run offense already falls off a cliff when he is not in the game. I didn't think they'd be able to run the football against Georgia with Albert Reese in. So if you don't have that run game threat, that puts more pressure on your quarterback to be able to go out and make plays. Georgia has at times been susceptible through the air, though. If we remember, Tennessee was able to get the big day through the air and hit those shots down the field. Alabama, Ty Simpson had a very good game throwing the football against Georgia. If you look at Florida, DJ Lagway did not have a great stat line, but they were able to hit a few throws downfield. He had the opportunity to hit a few more. Ole Miss, big day throwing the football. Not a lot of explosive plays, but a very efficient day throwing the ball in space and moving the chains. This is going to be a day where Blake Shapen, that quarterback, has got to step up. He is going to have to be accurate and on time with the football. He's going to have to get the football out quickly as well, because that's the case every time Mississippi State goes to throw. But I think if State's going to win this game, I kind of think it's going to have to be on the back of Blake Shapen, which I think that is something that a lot of State fans are going to say, don't know about that, just with the way Blake has played for the entirety of the season. But if he performs well, I think State's going to have a really good chance.
Yeah, I want to switch it over to the other side of the ball for both teams here. I think Gunnar Stockton's a really good quarterback. I feel like Georgia's offense has been not 100% top-notch elite, but still good enough to where you look at them and say they're probably going to be hard to defend. So, key to victory for me is I think you gotta, and I talked about this last week. Time of possession for Mississippi State. If you could win that battle, you probably have a chance to win the game. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but if you can keep Gunnar Stockton and company on the bench, and you're able to stretch the field, move the ball downfield and everything, you have a chance in this game, especially if you're able to get in scoring position with it's obviously you want touchdowns, but even if you can get some field goals or whatever in there, and just eat up the clock, you have a really good chance in this game if you're State.
I'll kind of take it the other way because I don't know if eating up clock is going to be like the way for State. I think eating up clock is a good way of keeping it close and trying to limit possessions. I would agree with that. But I think if you're State, you have to you have to stick with what works for you. And tempo is obviously a big part of that. Scoring from far and hitting explosive plays is a big part of that. And I think you want to be aggressive in this game to be able to find a way to keep pace. And I actually think if you told me State wins the time of possession battle because they were just keeping Georgia off the field entirely, then okay, yeah, you're probably right. I don't know if that's going to be the approach you take going in.
Okay.
I do think for State, though, and this kind of, again, it kind of goes counterintuitive to what you were just talking about. I think Georgia's going to move the football effectively. State's run defense at this point has not been great on the season. I think in SEC play, they're down to the last in the SEC in terms of rush yards allowed per game, actually against power conference opponents in terms of what they've allowed. I think they're officially second to last overall in the season. Teams have been able to run the football against Mississippi State, and I fully expect Georgia with a good offensive line, good group of running backs, they're going to be able to run the football effectively and move the chains. I think for State, and also Georgia, another point to make, they are not a super explosive pass game. They can take some shots down the field, and Gunnar Stockton has been good when they take those opportunities, but it's a lot of short to intermediate passing and a lot of run after catch is sort of what they do. Georgia's a team that's a bit more methodical offensively. They want to take time and move the ball with consistent gains, which kind of goes where I think they will win the time of possession battle. To me, it comes down to getting stops in the red zone. And on the season, Georgia is second in the SEC when you just look at games against power conference opponents. They're second in the SEC in red zone touchdown percentage, about 71%. Now, their overall scoring percentage in the red zone, they're seventh in the league at 87.5%. So it doesn't really jump off the page, kind of middle of the pack. But when they get to the red zone, they do a good job of turning drives into touchdowns. If you're Mississippi State, when they get in the red zone, it's got to be forcing field goals. I think Georgia's going to move the ball. Can you turn those long possessions into field goal drives instead of touchdown drives? That's going to be a huge thing for Mississippi State. And on the flip side, State's going to have to score in the red zone themselves. I mean, red zone conversions for opponents, Georgia's 73% on the season, which, again, second in the SEC, second best in the SEC. Georgia does a good job of getting stops in the red zone. If you're Mississippi State, this is a game where you cannot afford to waste those chances. So who wins the red zone battle is going to be huge in this one. If State can hold Georgia to field goals and State can turn their long possessions into touchdown drives, then I think State is going to be able to potentially walk out of this with a big win.
Absolutely.
All right, so that'll do it for when it comes to keys to victory. We're going to close out the show here with our picks, which, of course, will include our prediction for Mississippi State versus Georgia. Let's roll through these quickly. We're not going to spend a lot of time breaking down the games. Let's just kind of maybe one quick thought, if you got one, and then make the prediction. Quick look back at last week. We entered tied on the season, and I took a lead here. Texas versus Vanderbilt, I was correct there. I took the Longhorns. You had Vanderbilt. We both took Georgia to beat Florida. Both took Ole Miss to beat South Carolina. Both took Tennessee to beat Oklahoma, so we both took a loss there. We both took Auburn to beat Kentucky, so we both took losses there. I had Utah over Cincinnati. You went to Bearcats. Utes get the win. USC over Nebraska. Both took the Trojans. We both took Miami, so we both took losses because SMU got the win. North Texas Navy, I had the Mean Green. You had the Midshipmen, so I got another win there. You did predict Mississippi State to get the win, though, where I took Arkansas, so you had the win there. But a 4-6 week for Christian, 6-4 for me. On the season, I moved to 64-36, Christian 62-38. So a 2-game lead for me. I think the first time this season that I've had the lead. So we'll see how that
Congrats,
goes.
I guess.
We'll
get you back this week.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We'll see.
Yeah, so it's whatever. So we'll into our Week 11 picks now, and we'll start off with the one ranked matchup that we have in the SEC this week. Number 3 Texas A&M on the road at number 22 Missouri. Do the Tigers have a chance?
I think they definitely have a chance, but Texas A&M for me seems like the team that you don't want to pick against until you see them lose. They're the better team, and I'll roll the dice with them. I think it's going to be really close, but I'm saying gig 'em.
I agree with you, and I actually think the matchup favors Texas A&M in a lot of things. You can go check out SEC Prime Time for those of you listening, and we dove into this game as the game of the week, broke it all down. I think this matchup favors A&M pretty heavily. Back at third-string quarterback in for Missouri, which I think only makes things worse. I will definitely take the Aggies. Auburn at number 16, Vanderbilt. The Tigers get an interim coach boost against Vanderbilt. It's possible. Vanderbilt reeling after the loss to Texas. Who do you take in Nashville?
Real quick, I'm going to go Vandy here. But it wouldn't surprise. I mean, with the interim coach and the talent they have, I mean, could Auburn do it? Sure. But I'm going to roll with Vandy here.
I will also take the Doors. I think it's going to be close. But I'm not going to suddenly trust Auburn just because Hugh Freeze isn't there. So, yeah, I'll stick with Vanderbilt as well. LSU at your Crimson Tide, number 4, Alabama. This game is always kind of weirdly close when it's played in Tuscaloosa. For whatever reason, Bama gets a blowout win in Baton Rouge, and then they win close in Tuscaloosa. Do you think that continues, or do the Tide just completely roll here?
We would hope to see them roll completely, but, speaking of interim coaches and, so I forget who it is, but a new interim coach for LSU here. Brian Kelly's out the door. I'm going to take Alabama to win, but I think it's going to be competitive. I think LSU comes into this game, Nussmeier and company just, wanting to make a statement. I think they come up short. As far as the score prediction, I'm not sure, but I think it could be competitive. I think we get it done, but it's going to be a challenge.
I'm just going to take Bama. Yeah, I don't. Well, it could be closer, but I'm sure LSU will fight hard. But I'm just going to take Tide. Florida at Kentucky, 2 teams that are trying to keep any hopes of going to a bowl game alive. Who do you take?
This might be tougher to pick than any other game. I don't know. Gut says Kentucky. Gut says Kentucky right now.
Okay, so that's going to be our first difference because I'm taking Florida to get the win. I think Gators' defense is the best unit in this game. Oh, God, I forgot. Florida has 1 million players out. Yeah, I'm flipping my pick, not just to stay with you. This is not to maintain a lead. I forgot. Florida, I don't know if you saw. Did you see the list of all the guys who are not playing in this game?
I saw I saw a couple of them. I didn't realize how long it was, though. Is it like half their starters and everything?
It's opt-out city. It's very clear they went all in against Georgia, and now they're saying we're done. So, yeah, I'm going to flip the pick to Kentucky. I took Florida the other night, but, yeah, I'm going to stick with Kentucky. We'll go nationally here. Obviously, we'll close out with the Mississippi State game. But best game of the day, top 10 matchup, number 7 BYU at number 8 Texas Tech. A college game day out in Lubbock. Shout out to Mike Leach and his day. Like it was the last time game day was there for that 2008 game against Texas. Who are you taking?
BYU has looked like the better team, but you just brought up the Pirate Mike Leach. May he forever rest in peace. For his sake, I'm going Red Raiders here for him.
I am also taking Texas Tech. Not because of Leach, even though I always honor him with the swing your sword. I think Tech is just ultimately the more complete team. I think it's the better roster. I think BYU is a good team, but I like what Tech has defensively and the firepower on offense. I will take the Red Raiders at home.
I will say one more thing about this. I don't know BYU's schedule off the top of my head or anything, but this is probably the toughest game they have left. And if they take a loss somewhere, this might be it. But I could be wrong.
Certainly possible. Another top 20 matchup. Could be an interesting, fun one in the Big Ten. Number 9, Oregon at number 20, Iowa. Could be some weather in this game. Might be rainy, might be windy, maybe a little bit of snow. I don't think it's going to snow. But Oregon trying to get back rolling. Iowa's kind of starting to score some points. Do the Hawkeyes pull an upset at home?
I got to be open about something. Shout out to Uncle Lou, the Georgia YouTuber. Made a bet with him in the off season. I took the over on the win total for Iowa, which was 7.5. I need them to go 8-4. I think they go one step further here at home in the afternoon. You mentioned the weather and stuff. Let's say that aside. Oregon's a good team. I don't really think they're all what they're made out to be in this top 10, though. I mean, I like Dan Lanning. I like the Ducks, and they might make the playoffs. They might win the Big Ten. I'm going to go Hawkeyes here. I'm going upset. Give me Iowa.
Well, that'll be our first official difference then. I'm going to stick with Oregon. I could definitely see Iowa keeping this thing competitive, but I don't know. I still trust the Ducks overall. I'll get them to get the win. And, hey, look, Ducks are effective in the rain. When are they not? Friday night action in the American, huge game. A coach we've talked a lot about on this episode, John Summerall and Tulane on the road at Memphis. Memphis is rolling hot still in the American, in the lead in that conference right now. Well, actually, I guess no, they're not in the lead. I don't know because they do have that weird loss to UAB. But regardless, Memphis is sort of the front runner. They are in the playoff. If the playoff were today, who gets the win?
This will be a fun game to watch tomorrow night. I would love to stay up, but I'm probably going to be tired from work. Plus, I got to work Saturday, but I'll try to see what I can of it. This game, though, I'm going Memphis. I'm going to take the home team here. I just think they're the better team. Tulane's pretty good, too, though. I mean, this might be the team that if anybody hands them a second loss, this is a team to do it. But I'm not going to take a chance on that. I'm going to roll with the Tigers.
I'm also taking Memphis. I think they've just been the more complete, better team this year. Tulane's been a bit up and down. Certainly, John Summerall's an incredible coach. They're not as dominant this year. But yeah, I'll take Memphis to get the win at home. ACC battle: Wake Forest on the road at number 14, Virginia. Wake coming off getting embarrassed by Florida State, but still, it's a winning team versus a winning team in Virginia. Does UVA keep things rolling, stay within the ACC title game picture?
Yes. I think so. I just think that what's that coach? Tony Elliott?
It is Tony Elliott.
He's oh man, he's got it going, man. He really does. I remember when he was at Clemson and the quarterbacks that he's worked with and what they're doing right now with their offense, just throwing the ball around as much as they want. They got a good run game and everything. I like the Cavaliers right here.
I have to agree. I think Virginia will ultimately get the win. Big 12, Kansas at Arizona. I don't really have any little nugget here. And in fact, I'll just go ahead and make my pick. I'm taking Arizona.
Could go either way. I'm gonna go Kansas.
Well, there we go. We have two disagreements, so you could theoretically catch me this week. We'll see if that happens. Oh well,
yeah.
We still have another game to pick, but we know for sure you can potentially catch me this week. Finally, number 5, Georgia on the road at Mississippi State. The game of the day within the SEC, according to SEC Nation. The game that obviously we'll be paying attention to. Christian, we've broken down this game quite a bit. Do you give the Starkville-based Bulldogs a victory?
Oh man, I would love to say yes. I really would, but you really look stupid if you bet against Kirby, don't you? And he pulls it off. I mean, it is at home. It's a noon game. They're looking good in ways. I mean, they've played some close. I mean, they played it close with Tennessee. They played it close with Texas. They played it close with Florida. I'm not going to say much about that team. I think it's going to be competitive, but my gut says Georgia finds a way to get this done. I'm going with the Dogs of Athens on the road. Score prediction 27-24. Keep it close. Field goal or late stop. I don't know.
You've got a close one. And I have one that's competitive. I'm going Georgia 30-21. I think Georgia will be able to have a good bit of success against Mississippi State. I don't think they're going to put up a big number especially because I think some of the game plan is just going to be to limit possessions from Georgia. But I think they'll be able to do enough offensively. And look, Mississippi State might hit a couple big plays, might be able to put some points on the board. But ultimately, I don't fully trust State's offense to be able to execute against a good Georgia defense consistently. So I've got Georgia getting the win. Technically, I haven't getting the cover. Point spread of 8.5, and I've got the Georgia Bulldogs winning by 9. So both of us have competitive games. That would be a perfectly respectable outcome. That would be a tight outcome if you go with what Christian has there. But that, of course, would mean a game where it's like, oh, crap, they had a chance to win and they didn't do it. But
yeah,
we'll see how that – it's been a theme this season, but we'll see how it all plays out. Obviously, that game early on Saturday, I'm going to say now, post-game show is not going to be immediate post game. I know I'm never immediate post game, but I'm not thinking it's going to be in the afternoon. Probably going to have to hold off to the evening in order to be able to do the live show. So we'll wait till then for now, unless I find out I can go early, in which case I will. I'll let you all know then. But plan on the reaction show coming later in the evening on Saturday, because I probably am going to have stuff going on Saturday afternoon after the game. But yeah, that'll be the next time you'll be able to catch me, and then back together next week. Thanks to everybody who tuned in and was able to be a part of the stream and the show. Greatly appreciate that. If you haven't already, leave us a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn that notification bell on so you do know when we do go live. And as always, swing your sword and Hail State.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.